Hello everyone, my name is Rainer Fermel and welcome to the first ever episode of Hey Culture. Now today's episode is just to be an introduction as to who we are and who I am and also what this podcast is going to be about in the future. So who I am. My name is Rainer Fermel. I am married to my wife Lizanne and I work as a lecturer at a Bible college. So I have my degree in theology. Also this year I'm starting with my master's degree in Christian apologetics and theology. And I have a passion for young people. We started a non-profit company called Salt and Light Africa a few years ago, where we do an outreach every December to reach kids, teenagers, as well as some communities through the December holidays. And this podcast is born out of the vision that we had for Salt and Light Africa. And Salt and Light Africa is to be game changers, to bring taste into the world, to bring salt into the world, to bring salt preserves. Light shows the way to truth. Light also chases darkness away, and that's the heart. And we are a Christian company, and we are devout Christian in our beliefs. And that being said, we do believe that God calls us to reach to other people. But also, that doesn't mean there's going to be just a devotional podcast. This doesn't mean that this is going to be a theological lecture. This doesn't mean that this is going to be a worldview class. Yes, some episodes might touch on those topics, but Hey Culture is born out of anything that touches who we are as a society and what our culture is. There's a quote that says that politics is downstream from our culture, and our culture is affected by ideas that are born at universities. So a lot of times we are victims, or not actually victims, I don't like that word, but we are affected by ideas that other people had. And those ideas are affecting our lives now. The ideas that are being taught at universities today, it's going to be the culture in a generation's time. And with social media of today, with the internet being where it is today, it most probably would be even sooner than a generation's time. And we'll see leaps in the way the world is changing and the way people's thinking is changing in a few years. Now, before I went to study theology, I did a Christian gap year called Target Life. It was one of the most best, fantastic years of my life. Year after that, I worked as a counselor and a facilitator at that same gap year. And I was dumbstruck to see the amount of change between my year, being born in 1998, and the students coming in that next year that I had to work with, born 1999. And even though we were that close together, 1998, 1999, our cultures differed. Our thinking differed. The way we interacted with the world, the way we interacted with others, the way we saw relationships, everything differed. And not just because they differed with me as an individual, but as a group, they differed from our Target Life year the year before. A lot. And speaking to some people, I've learned that it wasn't always like that. You might have a few years clustered together that would be the same. It's the same in schools. You would have a type of culture, a type of worldview that kind of is there for a few years and then it phases out with a new worldview or new culture. And I'm not speaking about drastic changes. I'm speaking about slight differences, slight nuances that creep in. Different lingo, different social media. Everything changes. And that being said, I have a view that life is a lot more integrated than we like to think of it in the West. We like to put everything in boxes and categorize everything and see it as, now, this is my church box. And when I go to church, I think of church. And sometimes today we're not even allowed to think about theology in the church, but just the worship part, worshiping God. And I would beg to differ and say that worship is part of theology, but some people would even put that in the box that that's only for seminary. That's when you're at Bible college. Then you think about theology. And then you have your box when you're at a braai or at a barbecue and you chat with your friends, or you have a glass of wine together. And that's what and then you only speak about this stuff. And when you speak about politics, it's in this box. And your work life is in this box. But as organisms, as human beings, everything is integrated. Everything affects your stress levels. Everything affects your emotions. Everything affects your worldview and the way you understand and interact with the world. Your values affect the way that you think about yourself and others. Now, as Christians, we believe the greatest commandment God tells us that, hear, O Israel, the Lord your God is one, and we shall love the Lord our God with all our heart, all our soul, all our mind, and all our strength, and also to love our neighbors as ourselves. That should be our core value system. Now, some of you might differ from me from that, and you're most welcome to write that in the comments. And we would dig a bit deeper on those things in the near future, and maybe even have debates with different people on these topics. But why am I telling you all of this? I'm telling you all of this to show you that this impacts on our culture, and we have a decision to make. Are we going to be passive and just allow things to change us, allow things to impact us, and impact the way we understand ourselves, understand the world, and just go with the flow, go along with it? Or are we going to be aware of what's going on around us? And being aware of what's going on around us, we can think about stuff, we can evaluate it, and then we can move forward and actually be people who bring change, who are agents of change in this world and impact the culture for the better. Now, I know most of you don't need me to explain that a lot of people have the ability to impact culture for the negative, but much more we have the ability to impact culture for the better. Even if we agree on some of these things or disagree on some of these things. So to get back to who I am, I'm married. I am conservative in my thinking, and I love Jesus with all my heart. I work for a Bible college, and I'm what some might call the CEO, but I don't necessarily like titles, but I'm the founding director of Salt and Light Africa, or SALA for short. And we've started this podcast and hopefully more shows to come with different presenters to engage with you, to engage with culture, to listen to different ideas, because I believe that in freedom of speech, and I believe that we should have a discourse, and I believe that allows us to have freedom, and that we should shape each other, and that all iron sharpens iron. That being said, C.S. Lewis said that good philosophy must exist, if for no other reason that bad philosophy needs to be answered. So this podcast is going to engage in philosophical topics from time to time, but not just formally. But as I said earlier, everything's integrated. So when we speak about music, there's philosophy in that, and that affects and changes us, or at least impacts the way we think about life, the way we think about each other, the way we think about the guy filling in your petrol at the gas station, the way we think about the lady who takes your money at the till and gives your change to you after you bought a liter of milk. The way you think about exercise, the way you think about eating, everything is integrated. And your a religious belief system should be foundational to everything. So, what format would this podcast take? You guys have heard what the type of topics might be. We're going to start with different worldviews, what different worldviews look like, what the different worldviews say. Some episodes I might get a person or who's more an expert in the field who knows more about that subject in to have a discussion with me, and to interview them and ask them questions and to pick their brains as to what certain worldviews say. And after laying that foundation of what different worldviews are, we can start going into different topics, understanding the different mindsets and understanding the different belief systems that affects everything, and from which the different colored lenses that we put on for which we filter the world. Understanding that, we can then start to speak about a whole array of topics, whether it's about politics, South African politics, American politics, European politics, Middle East politics. We can discuss things like diets, exercise, and lifestyle. We can discuss music. We can discuss different forms of art, because art and music is part of culture, different philosophy, different ways to handle your finances. This is about wanting a better society and community around us, and hopefully more focused locally, that each one of us would outwardly focus to those around us and love the people around us, but also broader than that, and that everyone listening to this podcast can think through things, evaluate things, and be game changers or change agents in the world around them. And that way impact a whole bigger group of people. Now, I don't have all the answers, so I'm going to get a lot of times people to speak to and have long form discussions with them and to pick their brain. And sometimes I will reveal beforehand, a couple of weeks beforehand, who the person is, and everybody who is interested can send questions that they have, and I can pick one or two of them and also ask that question. Also, I'm more than open to people who also disagree with me, and then we can have a friendly debate, or not just even a debate, just interviewing the person, hearing what their views are, listening to the other side of things as well. Because this podcast is also not an echo chamber of just surrounding yourself with the same idea, going over and over, and reinforcing your own bias, reinforcing your own thinking that's not going to get you out of the problem or get you out of that specific paradigm that you're in. And that's not going to bring any change towards your life. At least be open to new ideas. As an example, for example, I've struggled with my weight ever since I was young, and always thought it is move more, eat less, and could never break that thing, never. And went to a point where I kind of tried to starve myself, and it would go good for a couple of months and overwork myself and just get my adrenaline up, just get my anxiety up, to just fail that hard. And there would be a bad relationship, and that would fail simultaneously with a better lifestyle, and I would hit rock bottom hard and get fatter. Then eventually I stumbled across the paleo diet and looked into it and wanted to try it. But just about around that same time, it was when Professor Tim Noakes in South Africa was promoting the Banting Diet, also known as the Atkins diet or keto diet, or ketogenic diet, and looked into that and started following that and lost a lot of weight without a lot of focus on exercise. Now, I did play sports at school. I played rugby, I played cricket, I played squash. And so I did move a lot, but just changing my diet, lowering the carbohydrate intake, increasing the amount of fat intake. And us South Africans like our protein, we like our meat, we like to have barbecue or braai as we call it here. Braais are quite different than barbecues, but yeah, I just have to say that. Otherwise, my South African brethren won't forgive me. But that being said, I've lost a bunch of weight. I never got to the goal, what I wanted, the goal body that I wanted, and maybe there was a bit of body dysmorphia as well, but I never got to the ideal weight that I wanted. Always had a bit of flesh left, a bit of blubber left around me, maybe for winters, I don't know. And that would go on and off. And after I left school, I would be on a diet and it would go really well, and then off and on and off. And it would go well for months and then slide down for a year and then go well for months. And then went on really well with the diet for more than a year. And then I saw with the outreaches that we do in December's, because of budget, because of the way things cost, and also just because of the amount of sleep, or should I say, the amount of non-sleep that we have on those outreaches, led to 3 weeks of eating junk food and having junk habits, just because of that high performance, high stress environment with no sleep. And that would cause me to fall off the wagon again and eat a lot of carbs again and eat a lot of processed food and processed sugars again. And then my wife and I decided to try Carnival. And Carnival made sense because it was just a more extreme form, or more specific form of ketogenic, and where you cut out all of carbs. And we were skeptic, but we tried it and we had good results of it and felt good, had good energy. And something that we always noticed with my wife was when her energy wasn't stable, that would affect her mood, it would affect her hormones and everything. But she would still, even though we were 100% ketogenic, she would still feel lightheaded sometimes, as if there was some type of electrolyte shortage. And we would eat a lot of salt, and sometimes it would help, sometimes it won't. And the whole idea of Carnival was that plants are trying to kill us, basically. So plants don't want to be eaten. Animals also don't want to be eaten, but animals can run away, bite you, scratch you, fight back, kill you, hide away. Plants can't. But plants develop defense chemicals which are there to deter us from eating them. And research and studies now show that it leads to a bunch of autoimmune diseases and stuff like that, and allergies and eczema and asthma and stuff like that. And that made sense. So Carnival made sense. But then I stumbled across a guy called Paul Saladino, and he is promoting this idea of an animal-based diet, which is basically a carnivore diet, but including fruit. So it's meat, organs, high fat, raw dairy, drinking raw milk. We might have a podcast just on that topic alone in the future. And fruit, because plants want you to eat their fruit and to spread their seeds. And that made sense. But for a person who was in that ketogenic paradigm for so long, this last 2 weeks when we wanted to start doing an animal-based diet, eating fruit again, was difficult. It's difficult to break out of that thing that carbs are bad, and to actually test for myself whether fructose in the form of a whole fruit, such as an apple and pineapple, whole fruit form, whether that might be bad or not for me, and to just test it on myself. Now, I've been doing it for about a week and a half now, and I feel good, and I enjoy fruit. Fruit is really delicious, and I've always enjoyed meat, but the point I'm trying to make is that we should always be evolving in our thinking, always be open to ideas, always to nibble on things, try things out, to evaluate them, to think through things. Now, I'm not saying try anything out. If somebody's promoting drink only Coke a day and maybe eat Snickers bars or bar ones, I won't even try it. I won't even go there. If somebody tells me just to eat potatoes a day, and I know the way I feel after I've eaten a potato, I know I won't go there. Somebody tells me to only eat McDonald's or KFC every day, knowing how I feel half an hour after I've eaten those foods, I won't try it. But I've never felt weird after eating fruit. I've never felt weird after eating meat. So that I would try, and I thought through it, and the logic makes sense. So in that same way, I'm open to ideas, and I want discussion, I want discourse, I want to speak to different people on different topics. I want to engage with you guys in the comments, and hopefully we will have live streams in the future as well, and we can engage live with different questions and different comments. Whether it's me and whether there are co-hosts and whether there's an interviewee or guest, to have that live and to engage with comments as well. So the idea of hate culture is that the world is changing around us at a rapid pace. And I believe we should have freedom. I believe we should have freedom of choice, and freedom of speech, even though there are a lot of people trying to take that away from us. And I have a lot of controversial thoughts on that, on ways people trying to take away from us, and we can have future episodes speaking about whether it's about COVID vaccines or the COVID lockdowns, whether it's about the way church is treating theology or theological students today. And when I say church, I'm mostly referring to charismatic churches in South Africa, where they have some of them have an anti-intellectual bias. Whether it's about politics or whether it's about the LGBTQ community and the woke movement and Black Lives Matter and apartheid here in South Africa, and whether are we going to move past it or are we going to stay stuck pre-1994? It's more than 30 years ago now. And I'm not afraid to speak about these things, and I hope you guys are not. And I'm open to people who would disagree with me. Open to people who think communism or socialism or Marxism is a good idea, and we can speak about that as well. And I can bring other people in if I'm not an expert on a topic, and we can speak about that as well. So that is what this platform is going to be about. That is what this podcast is going to be about. It's not just going to be about me and my ideas. I definitely don't know everything, but this is going to be an experience. It's going to be a journey. It's going to be an evolution of ideas and a discussion platform and a place of discourse, but in respect, in love, and in friendliness and kindness, because we want to be salt and light in this world, where salt disinfects, salt preserves, salt changes, salt adds flavor, salt enhances, and light shows truth. Light brings life. If you think of plants, if you think of biology, light is important for life. If you think of the sun, how important it is for us. It's energy. And also, light shines away the darkness and shines away the darkness. And being salt and light, we are, as Christians, or change agents on behalf of Christ and the Holy Spirit living through us. So, hate culture. Do you know you are affected by the world around you? You are affected by ideas that are born in university classrooms 25 or 50 or more years ago, and now that's affecting your life. Stop just letting it affect you and go along with it. Think through it, challenge it, stand up to it, be aware of it, and bring change. Stand for truth. Until next time, have a great day. Bless you. Goodbye.